Many miles to go before we sleep. There's a lot to do in the world, so how about it?
Let's go on, but now we stop here.
Yeah, we'll stop here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gunther.
It's good to have you as a friend.
Likewise, likewise.
Different understanding what it was I was doing, how it was that I was doing, and I would like for you to understand something. That's an important thing to understand.
Hey, Gunther.
Hey, Steve.
Hi. Hi. So we've got this opportunity here in Heidelberg to talk about how Milton-Erickson has influenced our work in past, present, and future. And we thought it might be an interesting thing to start with, talking about our first connections with Erickson and where we were individually and how that touched us personally and professionally.
Exactly.
So you want to go first?
Oh, well, I think you have been getting to know him earlier than me, but nevertheless I can. Well, it was in a sense an interesting journey how I came to Milton-Erickson, because at first I was an economist, and then I studied medicine, but only especially to do family therapy. I was very much influenced or impressed also by the concept of family therapy. And then I had this big chance from the first day when Helm Stierlin was here in Heidelberg. He came from the States, and he was, you could say, one of the European pioneer persons in family therapy. And
was that in like
74?
74.
That was in 74.
Oh, yeah, which is when I met Erickson. So.
So I met him 5 years later only. So they had a lot of history with him already, you know. Well, and at that time we worked with family therapy, and then let's say from 76, 77 we brought the systemic approach from the Milan group, Salvini, Boscolo, Cecchin, Prata, to the German language area. That was our Heidelberg group. And it was very effective in our work. We worked with psychotic people, psychotically defined people and their families, and other severe so-called disturbances. And we have been much more effective than with other things. But when I more and more got to know the roots, so to speak, of these concepts, and that was our concept in a sense, we have been really enthusiastic about systemic work, I more and more got the impression, well, most of the roots and most of the important intervention things are, in a sense, derived from Ericksonian work. And in some discussions also with Paul Watzlawick, who was very often in our place, and other people, I more and more got the impression, also John Wiegland, even Gregory Bateson's work was influenced by that, Haley and so on. So I thought, well, that's so interesting, and I didn't understand it, how this guy is working. It was a little bit confusing and irritating to me. And then I got to know Jeff Zeig at that time, when he was the first time in Germany, together with my friend Bernhard Renkle. We have been at his first workshop, and there he showed his Erickson's works in old movie parts and things like that, and it was so impressive to me, but also still confusing. It says, what does this guy do? I don't understand, in a sense. So my way always was to say, well, I go to the original people and learn from them and perceive it, and so I went to Erickson. Well, Jeff said, I said, well, is it possible to go to him? And said, oh, he's booked out for years or so. Only if you would write him a crazy letter. Oh, yeah. So I would say, okay, this is no problem. I wrote a crazy letter, but this was, in a sense, already kind of a trap I went into, because I wrote him that I want to come urgently. One of my main motivation was I was so fed up, I wrote to him, always to look up to him as a kind of monument. It makes already a stiff neck for me, and I want to come to deconstruct him. And also, I don't believe that I wrote to him that there is the solution of a riddle, which he gave to some students, built or planted in his garden with century plants. So he wrote me back. It would be a nice, interesting experience for him to be deconstructed. I never had this experience before, he wrote. And also to know whether I would solve this riddle. Yeah. And then he gave me immediately a task. And I said, oh God, why did I write it? Because he wants me to solve this riddle before I come. And I only could stay with him, then he would offer this place to me. If he would, if I would show him the solution of the riddle, otherwise he would send me back. So later on, I found out this guy already, in a sense, made a hypnotizing focusing of attention for me 6 weeks before I went, because the whole time I was like, God damn, how can I solve this riddle? So I went to
What was the riddle?
Well, it was, how do you plant or draw or whatsoever, for example, trees or what other plants in 5 rows of 4 things, which are connected. It's kind of a star.
Right, yeah.
But it was a hard time for me.